Glad you're with us on Charter Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here. We are joined today by Darrell Park. He is a nominee for a seat on the Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles County. What a victory, sir. There were 8 candidates running. The top 2 advance. You beat a California state senator who had been Republican leader in the Senate. You beat an LA City council member. You beat a Glendale council member. You done good. How'd you do that?
Thank you.
How'd you do that?
This is a very, very, very Democratic district.
Is it though?
There are only 30% registered Republicans. Obama won by 16 points. Feinstein won by 20. And especially the Latino voters this year, with the presence of Trump, they found their voice.
So let's talk about the district.
Yes.
It is the largest geographic district of the 5 in LA County.
Yes, 2,800 square miles.
So give us a sense of the communities along the district.
Okay, so just looking at the map, the top of LA City, imagine you're driving all the way to San Francisco. By the time you get tired and need to go to the bathroom and need to eat some food, you're still in our district.
Because you go to the Kern County line.
You go all the way to the Kern County line past Gorman. So Palmdale, Lancaster, amazing paradise communities up there. But it is a massive district.
And it comes down into, like you said, parts of the San Fernando Valley and then along the San Gabriel Valley.
Yes.
Some of those wonderful foothill cities.
Yes.
From where you reside.
Yes.
But you mentioned it's a Democratic district, but the perception is that it's not. Mr. Antonovich, a Republican, has served it for quite some time. He's now running for the California State Senate as a Republican.
Yes.
Disabuse me.
So what I would say is, for the local offices, there's a California state law that says you're not allowed to put your party designation on there. So what Antonovich was able to do was put his name using your tax dollars on signs everywhere, overpasses, underpasses, parks, recreation areas.
Darrell Park?
Courthouses. Yeah, so you'll see my name out there a lot, but nobody
Darrell
paid for that
Darrell
sign.
Park Parks. Darrell Park Park. Yeah.
So the idea that he was able to stick his name out there, it's such a down ballot race. By the time you get to the supervisors, you're tired. You just say, oh yeah, I recognize that name. And we need to change that. We need to take all those signs with his and other politicians' names and make those into part of our history. We need to, especially women that have been excluded from California's history and from Southern California's history, and we need to take those signs down and put signs up that are relevant to our history. Who are the people that have done good things in our history? So if people want to go to my website, they can make a suggestion. You don't have to be a Democrat. You just go and make a suggestion of somebody that you'd like to see on a sign.
Let's talk about women, because there is a chance that 3 to 4 women could be on the LA County Board of Supervisors out of 5.
Yes.
That's historic.
That's very historic.
I mean, you're running against a woman. 2 women are already serving.
Yes.
And in the other seat that's contested, a woman is seen as a strong candidate. That's the Don Knabe seat.
Yes, and I see that's in the 4th district.
Right.
Janice Hahn, she's a member of Congress. She's amazing. The building where the supervisors hold their meetings is literally named after her father, who did amazing things. So nobody ever wants to predict, but I have a very strong feeling, given how popular she is and how amazing she is, that she'll be in that seat.
If you win and if she wins, there will be a grand total of 0 Republicans on the LA County Board of Supervisors. Presumably Democrats would rejoice, but in that instance, how do you plan to work to create, because you do suggest there's been some overspending, that precious tax dollars are being put to waste, and the rub is, Democrats spend, and I'm not saying that's necessarily true, but how would you look to be the fiscal watchdog?
So I worked for 10 years in the White House complex in the Office of Management and Budget, and we balanced the budget 4 times. And we did that not by what everyone tells you to do, which is cut, cut, cut. You do that by actually solving problems. When the budget was balanced, they did that because, and President Clinton did that because they targeted things that were wrong in society, that were costing society money. And when you actually solve those problems, you get crazy money back. For instance, every homeless person in LA County, of which there are more than 40,000, those folks are costing you in the neighborhood of $40,000 per person.
But let's talk about the homeless. This is a crisis, sir. This is not your run-of-the-mill, oh, we're in economic hard times, we have this uptick in homeless.
You have structural problems.
I mean, some people say we're approaching 50,000
yes.
in LA County.
And if you look at people sleeping on their neighbor's couch, people sleeping in a shed, people whatever, my guess, and I don't have numbers to back this up, but when I get out there enough and see, that number of people we need to help is about 150,000.
And the homeless are not just congregating where they used to congregate. The homeless are throughout the county.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of panic
Yeah.
surrounding it. The state,
as there should be,
will have a bond
yes.
to deal with the question. Your potential colleagues are looking at some type of taxing measure to raise funds for homelessness. Where do you, I mean, when you look at the work of a county,
yes.
social services is one of the most critical elements.
Yes.
And so you would really need to delve into this.
Yeah, so I'm a budget geek. I live for this stuff. So just really quickly, every homeless person right now costing you $40,000. The state of Utah already solved this problem. Ottawa, Canada already solved this problem. Many other places in the world already solved this problem. And pretty
when you
much
look at Utah, I mean, Utah has a few million people. LA County has 10 million.
Yeah.
If we were a state, we would be as big as Michigan. I mean,
Yeah.
your district, I think, is probably bigger than Utah.
yeah, and they've solved the problem. They spend their tax dollars going back and forth trying to figure out how to solve it. They solved it. Ottawa, Canada solved it. All we have to do, other taxpayers paid to solve it. We just have to implement it. And it's a really simple
What do we need to
strategy.
implement?
You need to put people in housing. It's a really simple concept. And then after you put them in housing, you get them counseling, you get them rehab, you get them support services.
I want to ask you about housing because for many years there was a philosophy that you could not come into public housing, housing for homeless, unless you were sober.
And we've realized that's a mistake.
Right, so housing first is your philosophy. Let's get them in and then we'll get them sober.
Yes, so and it's more than, I would say my philosophy is more than just the housing first. You need to build a support structure that gets every person back to their potential. And some of these folks need a little bit of help, some of these folks need a lot of help. But I will tell you, in almost every instance, if you spend the money and spend it well, it's way better than what we're doing now. Because you don't realize you are spending money now. You're spending money on law enforcement, you're spending money on people using the emergency room, you're lowering the quality of life. Some of these small businesses that need $500 or $1,000 to keep their doors open.
In terms of
Go ahead,
law
sorry.
enforcement, there is a view that maybe law enforcement has interacted with homeless in ways that are not productive.
That's
And
very true.
so
and
are
both
you-
sides would agree
Right,
with that.
and so are you hoping to work with the sheriff to improve relations between homeless, whether they want services or not, and
Yes.
law enforcement?
Yeah, and there's two easy ways to do that that have been implemented in other places. One is you ask every single member of the sheriff's department, whatever their job is, they have to hand out 20 pounds of food per week. So whether they go to a food bank, whether they buy a bag of potatoes and give it to a needy family, they're in the servant attitude where they're a public servant in using that word servant. I'm helping you, I'm serving you, and that changes the perspective. The next thing is you have a civilian board that truly oversees the sheriff's department. And it's just not made
Well,
up
that's
of...
happening now.
But it's what happens if you have a board made up of former sex workers and undocumented folks and homeless people?
interesting.
Then you have a whole different situation because then the officers and the deputies know, hey, wait a minute, I can't harass this person because this
You'll
person
come back?
actually has power.
You'll
Yes.
come back. He is Darrell Park. He is a nominee for LA County Board of Supervisors. Brad Pomerance here, Charter Local Edition.